Welcome to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and this is a space where women who value achievement, success, accomplishment, and wealth, but also crave happiness, love, joy, and deep fulfillment come to remember that we get to have both. Not by doing more, but by being more of who we truly are. In this show, we explore identity, energy, alignment, and embodiment because you didn't come here to follow someone else's rules. You came to right your own. Let's dive in. Hello, and welcome back to the Uncensored Self Podcast. I am your host, Ryan Gillen, and I am going to share 10 things that I wish I had known at the beginning of my personal development journey here with you on the podcast today. So thank you so much for being here. Just to kind of catch you guys up on some stuff, we started this series, I guess it's probably been about over a month ago, where I started talking about I'm going to build a wildly successful business without doing anything I do not want to do. And I've really been documenting my journey and sharing my journey and the things that I'm learning and all of that. But one of the things that I always try to really remember is that I wasn't always this version of myself. And what I mean by that is I didn't always know the things I know. I didn't always believe the things that I now believe. I didn't always move through the world the way that I do now. And so I was really been reflecting on what has changed for me over the years, or what are the things that, like, sitting where I sit now, looking back over my entire journey, going to be like, gosh, I wish I knew these things earlier. I wish these pieces were more relevant or more prevalent. As somebody who really strives to give you guys a behind the scenes glance of what's actually happening when we fully, I always use the word deconstruct from the world's version of success and the world's version of achievement and business and all of that. And especially for us as women, what does that deconstruction look like? And so that's really what I strive to be an example from you guys, because I have been where you've been, right? I have been in that place where I was working harder than I could ever possibly imagine for results that didn't seem to match, for people I wasn't sure I even fucking liked, doing things that I knew for sure I did not love doing. And so I have been there for sure. And so I really wanted to share some of the things that have been on my heart. So this is going to be a little bit of a list, and we're going to ad lib and tell some stories and have some fun. 10 things I wish I knew. Number one, the journey started long before I thought it did, right? Like, I often tell the story about the time I met Stacy in 2021. And, we met in the lobby of a Ritz-Carlton in Vail, Colorado in July of 2021, which is so fun because I'm actually going back to Vail, Colorado in July of 2025. And so, and 4 is my number. So it's been 4 years from that moment. So I'm so looking forward to that, but not the point of the conversation today. I often tell that story as like the starting point, that this is where the journey started. But now that I can look back, I can say I actually started getting nudges long before. So I actually was the one that was like, I was popping in and out of churches in my 20s. Like when I was in college and when I first started my career selling radio down in Florida, like I would pop into churches and I was looking for connection, right? And the only place I knew at that point in time to find connection was in churches, right? Like that was the only place I knew that spirituality existed. I did not know the version of spirituality that I live today and that I exist today and the relationship with God I have today. I did not know that at the time. So the only place I knew to go to look for connection was a church, because that's what was modeled. So now that I look back and like I read the book, or I read the book U Squared when when I started selling radio advertising in 2005, and U Squared is all about quantum leaps, but again, at the same time, I was kind of like, meh, whatever. I don't know what this is. I read The Secret in 2008, and, again, that feels too easy and didn't do anything with it. And I can now see all these things over my life, but where the journey really sped up was back in 2017. It was right after I had Davis, and I was I always tell the story, I'm sitting in the office. I just bought all the furniture for this office. I'm the director of sales for a digital marketing agency. I finally have a job where I don't have to travel. I am building my dream home, and, all these things are happening. Not my dream home, but I'm building a home that I really love. And I guess at the time I thought it was my dream home. How interesting is that? Ooh, that's a whole nother podcast. So we're going to reflect on that later. Because at the time when I was building it back in 2017, I would have told you I was building my dream home. And now that I'm like, oh girl, this dream home's got a dream home. We'll talk about that later. But I'm building my dream home and I have this job, and I'm like, this cannot be it for me. Like, this cannot be all God put me on this planet to do. Like, I remember having that thought. But again, I was still so entrenched in my career and the very traditional model of success and achievement and how we get what we want out of life. So I often say that I thought it was an industry change. And that's when I discovered entrepreneurship and all of that. So there was that moment in 2017. There was the moment in 2019 when I left my corporate job. At the time I had started working with mindset coaches, which I think is kind of the beginning of the journey, right? But what the reason why for me, I feel like it goes deeper than mindset is because it's not just the conversation happening between your ears, right? Like there's so much more at play here. So mindset is helpful. It helps with positive thinking. It helps with, understanding the power of your thoughts. I'm not downplaying mindset coaching, but for me, mindset coaching was just the beginning. And I think a lot of people start there. And then, of course, again in 2021, when I meet Stacy, is when the energy journey really took off. And then, again in 2024, when I finally, left sales and marketing behind and made this my full-time business, is really just doing personal development and energetic work. So it's just so interesting to look back that I often tell the story of like 2021 is when I met Stacy and started learning about universal law, and really the full deconstruction started. But I was getting signs a really, really long time ago. And the reason why I think this is important for you, regardless of where you are in your journey, is understanding that, you didn't wind up here by accident, right? Like nobody just woke up this morning and all of a sudden I'm the person whose podcast you're listening to. You've probably been asking questions for a while. You have probably been feeling some dissatisfaction or dissettled, or like something is missing for quite some time. And if you look back, you can probably see where those moments are and how you were probably looking for something like this a long time ago. You just didn't know what you were looking for because you didn't know it existed. So like for me, when I was looking in churches, I didn't know that this work existed, so the only place I knew to find the connection to my higher self was in the walls of a church. Right. So you might be able to find some of those examples. The second thing that I wish that I knew is that there isn't a way, there isn't a right way. I was so addicted to the right path, to finding the right path. Again, this goes back to when I started this journey, I was still very much playing the mind game. I was still very much the type of person that was tell me what to do and I will do it. I was excellent at doing that. So I just wanted somebody to tell me what to do. Okay, cool. I'm on a spiritual journey. Somebody tell me how to have a spiritual journey. Somebody tell me how to deconstruct all this. Somebody tell me how to manifest my dream life. Like somebody tell me how. And I kept looking for the right way to do it. And I honestly think that made my journey so much longer than it actually needed to be, because there is no right way to do it. There is no one way to do it, because all of us are coming from a different starting point, right? Our current point of attraction is different based on your programming, based on your life experiences, based on, whether or not you have trauma in your life, based on what your parents' beliefs were about money, about work, about women, about there's so many different factors that go into this journey. And everybody has different personality styles and different learning styles and different ways they're interested in, and, just different things. Like I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I know that. And that's why there's so many people who teach this work, so everybody can go find their cup of tea. But what that also means is that there is no one way to do this. That's also why I actually don't teach anything prescriptive. Like I don't teach a system or a process, which some people would tell you from a business perspective is not smart, right? Like to not have your own intellectual property. And I'm like, I don't have my own IP. It's fucking universal law, right? Like I have ways that I use it. I have ways that I tell stories. I have things that have worked well for me, but everybody's process is going to look a little bit different. And so my goal is to actually give you a toolkit to work with instead of a methodology to work with, because at any point in time, I'm using all sorts of different tools in my toolkit, depending on what the issue is, right? But what's really important about all of this is none of it matters about the tools. It's the hands using the tools, right? It is the hands using the tools. It's not so much the strategy. It's not so much the blueprint. It's not so much the right way to do it. It's the person using the tools, and everybody's going to use the tools differently. So all of that to say that there is no one right way to manifest your dream life. There is no one right way to run a business. There is no one right way to have a romantic relationship or not have a romantic relationship. There's not one right way to, get healthy. Everybody has their own style and their own thing. And if you stop looking, if you stop searching for a right way, thinking that the power is in that right way, instead of realizing that the power is inside of you. So I wish somebody had told me that this is not an external thing that you are looking for. It's what resonates with you internally, because you are, again, you're the hands holding the tools. You're not the tools themselves. The tools are just the tools. And I really wish I had known that sooner, for sure, for sure. So the third one, we are all intuitive. We are all intuitive. And I thought intuition, and I've always believed in it. Like, again, I can look back and see that I've always believed in intuition and like Ouija boards and talking. Like, I think my whole life, I can see that I always knew that there was something outside of me, that there was a force bigger than me in my life. Like, I always knew that. And again, it didn't always resonate as the God that the church talks about, right? But it wasn't God, but that's not really relative to this conversation. But the truth of the matter is we are all intuitive. Like when you walk into a room and you're like, oh, I like that person. I like that person. I like that person. I don't like that person. And I can't really get a read on that person. That's your intuition, right? When you're like, oh, this feels like a really great idea. Or you get that feeling in your body where you're like, I don't know that this is a great idea. I actually think this is a bad idea, right? All of those things are your intuition. The problem is that most of us have been trained out of our intuition, right? We have been taught to follow logic in such a way that those gut reactions don't make sense, right? Like if the gut reaction says no, don't do that thing. But logic says everybody does this thing. We have a tendency to override with logic because we think, oh, well, everybody else does it this way, so I should do it too, right? Or if we get assigned to say yes, we're like, yes, I really want to go on that trip, or I really want to hire that coach, or I really want to hire that person on my team, or I really want to make this investment. And then logic goes, no, but it doesn't make sense for you to make that investment because, you only have A, B, C, X, Y, Z in the bank, or you have this, and this coming up. But meanwhile, your intuition is telling you like, yes, I should say yes to this, but you override it with logic. So we have actually just trained the intuition out of ourselves by overly relying on thinking and logic and systems and processes and things that make sense instead of really truly tapping in and listening to our body. Another thing that I think is happening for so many women is because you're moving so fast that you can't even actually hear and feel the intuitive signals. I was coaching inside of business therapy today. We had our group coaching call, and it's just one of my favorite days of the week. Like, I fucking love those calls. They're so good. My clients are so amazing. And, we're all kind of giggling a little bit because we're at the point in the process where all the feels are starting to come up, right? Like when you get into this work, you actually start to learn to feel your feelings again and to really think about how do I feel and what do I think and what's important to me, which are questions most people haven't asked themselves in a very, very long time, right? So it gets a little uncomfortable, and I was giggling with them today. I'm like, you feel it all now, right? Like I used to be like that too. I was completely closed off, like no emotion at all logic, and now I feel all of my feelings, sometimes to the point where I'm like, oh my gosh, can you make it stop? Because I can feel it in my whole body. So like when I'm anxious, or I got triggered a little bit earlier today with some drama with parents in AU baseball, and like I can feel it climb up my spine, and I know now how to not react to it, right? But I still feel it, right? Like my body still sends me the impulse of like, protect your kid, right? Like full mama bear still comes out, but now I'm not like shredding people to pieces. So our body is still going to react to the thing. We just don't have to let it come out of our mouth in, a spew of obscenities in my case, typically. So we are all intuitive. Like the things that you think and you feel and are not an accident. And we all have that in us. You've just been trained away from it, right? Another one that I think will be so important, this is number 4, is meditation. Everybody, again, since the very beginning of my journey, even before that, like I remember my pastor telling me at church to meditate. Like I remember asking him, like sending an email and asking him about like meditation, like what do you recommend? So meditation, but I think the thing I want you to know about meditation is not about turning off your thoughts. It's not about getting your brain to stop thinking. Meditation is about being able to separate yourself from your thoughts and observe your thoughts. Because in a real esoteric way, you are not your thoughts. You are the thinker of your thoughts, right? Like you're not the actual thought that like, I'm a worthless piece of shit. You're the person observing the thought that I'm a worthless piece of shit. What meditation teaches you to do is when that thought drives by, I want you to think of it like a car driving by. You don't have to get in the car, right? Like the car drives by, but you don't have to get in it. You don't have to believe it. Meditation teaches you how to create enough space between the thought and the observation of the thought that you don't believe the thought and get in the car with the thought and then believe the thought. I know that feels a little bit esoteric, but if you can really sit with that of like, I am not the thoughts, I'm the thinker of my thoughts. And if you think about that, you're like, oh, well, that makes a lot of sense because who else is having that conversation inside of my head, right? The book, The Untethered Soul, is really great for this if I'm weirding you out right now. But the truth of the matter is that meditation is really about being able to be still long enough to create that space. And again, it's why I choose to do breath work more than I choose meditation, because in the beginning, it still just felt really overwhelming to sit with my thoughts. Breath work gave me something to do. There was a directive. So even guided meditation, guided breath work are the things that have worked really well for me. But the point is not for you to just sit here and to not think, right? The thoughts exist. The point is to make it so you realize that you do not have to believe every single thought that you think, and that you get to choose which ones you attract and give more of your attention, right? This is the whole concept of what you focus on expands. Meditation helps you hone that focus so that you have more control over your brain, right? It just creates that really cohesive relationship. And so I wish somebody had better explained that to me other than just like, go meditate. And you're like, what the fuck does that mean? What's the point? What am I doing here? Because I waited, I think, a really long time to have a really solid nervous system regulation practice because of my misunderstanding of meditation. So that I think is really important. And if you take nothing away from following me or listening to my podcast or being part of my community, it's finding something that works for you, and nervous system regulation will be the most life-changing thing that you do, and it's completely free. It's completely free. Like, I mean, you can go on YouTube and find endless meditations and breaths. Like there's so much, right? And there's apps. I use an app called Othership. I think it's like $17 or $18 a month, and I really love it. So those tools are all available to you to really learn that thing, right? The fifth thing that I wish I knew: there are zero coincidences. Zip, zilch, Zero, nada, does not exist. The universe is very precise. Universal law is always at play. The law of vibration and law of attraction are working all of the time. So what is out there is what you are a match to in here, right? So out there meaning the external world, in here meaning inside of you. So even if I'm going to give you an example. You might say, well, I don't gossip, right? Like I'm not a gossip, but you have a friend who calls you once a week to gossip, right? And they gossip and you're like, yeah, but I didn't call her. I didn't start the conversation. I didn't talk shit about that person. And I'm not saying that you did. And even if you did, I'm not judging you for it. I'm just telling you that oftentimes we think that like, oh, well, that's just how she is. Like, I can't help that she calls me and bitches about those things. Well, some part of you is a vibrational match to that, or that person wouldn't be calling you anymore. And I know, how that, that's true. Have you ever ended a friendship with someone or a relationship with somebody that you used to see all the time, and then all of a sudden you see them nowhere? Like a zip, zilch, zero, haven't seen them in ages, right? Like you're no longer a frequency match. Like I used to have a good friend who lives in my neighborhood, and, through divorce and everything else, that friendship kind of fell apart. And we live, a mile and a half apart, and we have children the same age. And I have seen her a total of 5 times in the past 2 years. And this is somebody I used to see several times every single week and talk to frequently, right? And there was also no big falling out. Like there was no big falling out. There was no breakup. There was no like, oh my gosh, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Like none of that happened. It's just like vibrationally, we no longer became a match. And so we were no longer in one another's orbit. So like if there are people who are unpleasant in your orbit, there is a part of you that is a vibrational match to that. And that is uncomfortable to think about, because you're like, but it's my grandma. And I'm like, well, you got to deal with that. But that is the truth. Like the only reason that stuff pops up in your reality is because you are a vibrational match to it. The universe is extremely exact. Bob Proctor is quoted as saying like, we are so good at universal law that we were able to like, land a spaceship on the moon, right? Like it's so precise and it's so exact and it's so perfect. That's what we're able to do as humans with it. So you mean to tell me that, you keep attracting that one situation over and over and over again in your life that you swear is not you because you don't engage it and you don't start the conversation and you would never, it's only there because you're a match to it. And I can say this because I've seen this in my life. Like there is zero judgment in this where like I have to look myself in the face and be like, yeah, no, the reason why this keeps happening is because I keep entertaining the conversation. The reason why this keeps happening is because I keep taking that phone call and letting the conversation go that way. The reason why this keeps happening is because I keep thinking this thought. Right? Like we have to be really, really mindful of those things, being really aware of that. So there are zero coincidences, right? So everything in your life is there because at some level you're an energetic match. So again, the drama, the gossip, the chaos, not just the good stuff, is also what we are a match to, and we need to clean that up. Right. Obviously, number 6 is, and I'm going to say it's an obvious one, but it's a really important one, is that hard work isn't the flex that I thought that it was. Right. And this is probably pretty obvious. And that's why I said that, because I talk so much about this, like how hard work isn't the answer. But I was very proud of my hard work. So like, I wish I knew at the beginning of this journey, like I wish somebody had told me, is that it is less about the amount of effort and more about the energy behind the effort. Like that's the part. So I always tell my clients, like, I don't think any single person who listens to this podcast or is part of this community is somebody who desires to do nothing, right? Like all of you have some level of ambition. That's why you're here. Like there's something in your life that you want to bring to life, or there's some area of your life where you're not getting what you need, want, desire, like something is off, right? And the reason why this is important is going back to this whole concept of, hard work isn't the flex. Like I wish somebody had told me that like the hard work is great and you're going to work, but you don't have to do things you hate. Maybe that's the better thing to say, is that work might be part of the equation, but doing things you hate is not. I'm going to amend my notes. That work is going to be part of it because you're the type of person that likes to work. I talk all the time. Every time I record this podcast, I'm technically working, but it's fun and it's exciting and it's a topic I'm obsessed with. I can literally do this all day long. So like you're always going to do things, but you don't have to do things that you don't like, that are out of values alignment, that make you feel like shit, that make you feel whatever, right? Like that's the part I wish that somebody had told me. I'm not telling you to do nothing. I'm telling you to stop doing shit that you fucking hate doing just in the name of a result, because it's not working the way that you think that it is. And I wish that somebody had been more clear about that. I think that the action piece of the puzzle in intentional reality creation for me was really fuzzy, because I was like, you mean I'm just supposed to be able to sit here on this meditation pillow and call shit in? And so I was really having a hard time matching up the energy with the action. And so to me, it's like, it's not so much no action at all. It's only really doing things that you're excited about, that are going to create what it is that you desire to create. And I think that the desires, I say this often, that are put on your heart are there for a reason. And so you already have the skills and the gifts needed, or the ability to go get the skills and gifts needed. Like, I don't think we have desires. Like, somebody, this was somebody else's example, but they talked about, like, oh, well, when a kid, somebody wants to play NBA basketball, but they're, 5'2", they can't just be whatever they want. And it's like, it's not likely that God gave the goal to be an NBA basketball player to somebody who's 5'2". Again, unless their goal to be an NBA basketball player has very little to do with basketball and has to do with the lifestyle that basketball affords, or the attention that they think they're going to get. But there's a difference between somebody who is hearts on fire to train like you need to train to be a professional athlete, versus somebody who's like, it would just be kind of cool to be like rich and famous and popular, right? So again, going back to that idea of the desires on our heart. The seventh one is understanding identity and what that really meant. Because to me, I always saw myself as a very self-assured person. Ask anybody who knew me then, that I've always been a very self-assured person. I've always been a very confident person, right? But that was forwards facing. That was the mask that you all saw. Behind closed doors, I was insecure as fuck, right? Behind closed doors, I was so obsessed with the external validation, needing the likes, needing the followers, needing the money. Like, I needed, it was the optics were extremely important to me. And so understanding what identity is, really it's who you are at your soul, who you are at your core, and what that means, right? Like, really understanding that so much of who we are and how we move through the world are not our core identity. They're not who we truly are. So there's like the identity and the personality piece, but then also the identity piece of like who we truly are in the picture of the cosmos, right? How we are the creator of our reality, how we are spiritual beings in physical bodies, right? How we are literally, Christ consciousness, whatever it is, like it's just you in here, like really understanding that piece of it and studying that a little bit more, because I think that's another thing that I made my journey a little bit clunkier than it needed to be, is I really resisted that part that it was just me, right? Like, I really resisted that. So I wish that somebody had said, spend more time really anchoring yourself into the idea of the identity, is that it is 100% on you. You are the problem and you are the solution, and not just in the words, but in the actual practical application of this. I wish that somebody had really drilled this into me a little bit deeper, of like, no, it is you and only you. You don't have the money you want in your bank account. It's just, it's you. You don't have the number of clients you want. It's you. You don't like the number on the scale. It's you. And I wish somebody had been more clear with me on that. Not in a I'm beating you up, want to make you feel like shit kind of way, but in a way of sometimes I still thought that there was something outside of me that needed to change, because I didn't really fully understand the identity piece of the puzzle. For sure. Here's a really good one. I'm going to skip number 8 because I feel like I already covered it in some of the others. So you're only going to get 9 answers, or 9. Sorry, guys. I'm giving this to you as number 8, but it's number 9 on my list. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not broken. You are not broken. This is so important because, and I'm very candid about this. I've talked about it here a lot on the pod, right? Like, so much of, my discovering of personal development come from this place of I was broken, that there's something wrong with me, that I need to be fixed in some capacity. And again, I wish that in the beginning, somebody would have said, there is nothing wrong with you. There is nothing here to fix. The only thing that needs to be fixed is the conversation happening in your head. Like, there's not some big thing you need to go repair. There's not some big, wall of trauma you need to go walk through. Like, yes, those modalities are great and fine, and I don't think they're inherently bad, but I do think they elongate the journey when we go looking for what is wrong with me and let me fix it, instead of how do I make my life better? Like, how do I fix this versus how do I improve? I think are two different questions, right? The energy behind those questions are so different. And I was always coming from a place of fixing, and coming from a place of fixing myself always comes from a place of lack, right? When we feel broken, we don't feel good. When we feel like there's something wrong with us, we don't feel confident. We don't feel aligned. We don't feel like the best version of ourselves. We think, oh my God, there's something wrong with us. And putting that energy out into the world is continuing to bring that energy back to you. So I wish that I would have taken this from a place of you are whole and worthy and complete right where you are, and really learning to embrace that and lean into that and let that be okay, and that I could still rise and grow from here, right? Like, I'm not looking backwards to try to fix something that happened in the past, because remember, the past doesn't exist. There's no reason to look back and try to fix something. There's nothing back there to fix. The only thing that you can do is moving forward is make different choices, right? The only thing you can do moving forward is deciding, what identity am I showing up in today? Who am I being today? Like, I wish somebody had been so like shook my body and said, listen to me on this, right? Listen. And then the final one that I want to share with you is that you will revisit the same lessons over and over and over again. Healing isn't linear. Growth is not clean. You will circle back to the same patterns, but every single time you meet them, you will meet them with more power, more wisdom, and more compassion. This is so important because every single time we overcome something, right? We overcome a block or a limiting belief, or we overcome something really big and we're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then, we're cruising along and things are looking better. And then, well, pow, we got hit upside the face with and we're like, wait, I thought I slayed this dragon, right? I talk about this again, lots of baseball stuff happening right now. I talk about this when it comes to baseball, like the things that came up when Davis started playing competitive baseball, like the things about me, like my athletic stories, my good enough stories, what it meant about me, whether my kid was good or not, like some dragons that I thought I'd slayed came right back up with brand new circumstances and brand new triggers, right? I just was able to see them from a different perspective and learn the lesson in a different way. But sometimes we think, again, something has gone wrong. I've already overcome this. Why does this keep happening? But again, all of that comes from a place of victim where we're like, why did this keep happening? I thought I fixed this. I thought I was over this. I did this work. Like you were like a bratty teenager who's like, I brushed my teeth yesterday, Mom. I cleaned my room yesterday, Mom. And you're like, fucking clean it again. It's disgusting, right? But like that energy of that versus like, oh, this is just a different version of the problem. And because I have overcome it before, I can overcome it again, right? For me, but sometimes we think that something has gone wrong because we think we've already fixed this or we've already worked through this or this should look different than it does, instead of realizing that, again, this is not a growth, like a linear, clean process. And your shit's going to continue to come up over and over and over again in different ways. And it's just your ability to not let it trigger you, right? It's your ability to use the meditation example, right? To like not get in the car and let the story drive you around, but be able to be like, oh yeah, I've overcome this and now I'm overcoming it at a different level from this version of myself. Because remember, even though we are, divine beings, even though we are, spiritual beings in physical bodies, we still came here to have this human experience. The goal is not to avoid any pain. It's not to avoid any heartache. It's not to not have hard times. It's to realize that those moments are merely there to point us in the right direction. They're not there to tell us we're useless piece of shit. Right? When we bump into something that we don't like, it's merely there for curiosity to learn and to overcome, not to make it mean anything about ourselves. So as you go on this journey, you get better and better and better at that. And you move through the levels faster and faster and faster. But again, because we have such linear brains, we're like, I slayed this dragon. Why is it back? I thought it was dead. I thought it was dead because we think that, oh, I did that once. But you're going to have to overcome it again and again and again and again and again, because you have, for me, 40 some odd years of patterns and programs that maybe you have not questioned, or maybe you have not looked in the face, or maybe you have not really, dealt with in that capacity. Those are my things. I promised you 10, but I gave you 9 because I didn't like number 8 on my list. But the reason why I think I just really felt called to share this is, again, I know you're here because you believe in this work, and I know you're here because part of you is really curious, but I also know what it feels like to not be sitting where I am sitting, to not be able to say with such certainty and confidence as I say now, the things that I say, like the want to believe them, the desire to believe them, the hope, gosh, I wish that this is true, or I hope that this is true, or I hope that this is really going to work for me because I'm so fucking sick and tired. Like, that's okay. And here are just some of the things that across the journey that I have learned that I wish that maybe could have made my journey a little bit faster, or again, could have learned some lessons a little quicker, or not had to slay so many dragons so many times, or stayed in, really low valleys for way too long because I did not know these things. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of this community, for listening to this podcast. If you know somebody who needs to listen to it, please share it. And we will see you next week on The Uncensored Self with Ryan Gillen. Thanks so much for tuning in to The Uncensored Self podcast. If this conversation cracked something open for you, trust that that's the work. And share this episode with a woman in your life who's ready to stop performing and start creating. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe, leave a review. It helps this message reach the women who need it most. Remember, you're the creator. The rules are yours. And your uncensored self, she already knows what to do. Keep leading, keep listening, keep becoming.